Here's a question I have. Was this...
This is three
set,
cameras.
This was 3 cameras.
Right now.
And was this set art directed
No.
by you in any way?
No. That's the...
This is what you found.
We didn't touch anything. That's the light is the overhead light on the fan that exists in the room.
You didn't replace the
bulb.
bulb.
Didn't replace any bulbs. That's just it.
But you had a choice. You could say, well, we can...
I could
use
have turned
the ceiling
that
light,
yeah,
or
exactly.
use the lamps on the tables.
We did. It's funny. In that scene, initially I looked at it in that way that we would normally on a movie, which is the lamp light was much more pleasing to the eye and flattering, and as a result, I felt was totally wrong.
Yeah.
And I said, turn on the ceiling light.
So you create a mood, but only with what you have to work with.
Exactly.
You have a choice of what mood you want based on which lights you switch on.
And it's also good to have boundaries, I think, to work with or against. I'm a big believer in that. I know it sounds crazy when you've made, one of the Ocean's movies, and somebody said, well, what are the boundaries there? But you
make rules for yourself.
Yeah, you do make rules, and you try. I think it's a good thing to do.
Now, we talked once about when you were making Ocean's 12 that you felt this real pressure to continually be inventive with each scene. You felt like I really need to come up with an idea, and there was a sense that there was a pressure on you. Was the process of making Bubble an attempt to just not have that pressure at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, here's the interrogation scene we're looking at now is a good example, is kind of a distillation of the whole movie to me, in that we're shooting 2 cameras, very simply framed. There's no reason to frame it any more elaborately than we did.
They weren't there very long.
What I did with Debbie was I brought her, there were 2 cameras in the room, it was just me and Greg, nobody else in the room. We brought Debbie into the room and had her sit for 5 minutes with nothing going on. Nobody's talking, nothing's happening. And then we gave a silent cue, and then Decker came into the room and started this interrogation. She had no idea what he was going to ask her. She knew, obviously, what he was going to be talking to her about, but she didn't know what the line of questioning was going to be or how he was going to do it. And
immediately leave, or
I think for her,
sat down and she asked me.
We talked about it later because this is one take. We did this in one take, and there was some stuff we cut out. But listening to Decker sort of slowly begin to ratchet up the intensity of the questioning,
the antagonism.
Yeah, and watching him shift, and watching her react, and then she said, we'd prepared these photographs of Misty on the ground with bruises on her neck, very sort of, as clinical as we could make them. I never intended to show them. They were just made up for the scene. And we were all really surprised at where Debbie went with this. And she said, she totally forgot the cameras were there, and that he was making her really nervous. And that when she saw the picture, when he put the picture down on the table, she got really upset.
You could see.
And that to me that's what I'm talking about in terms of creating an environment that just, the path of least resistance is to be true.
Yeah.
It's like this velvet chute that lands you right in the right place. That to me is much more interesting than trying to create that out of chaos or tension or manipulating them.
But you're making so many directorial choices. You chose the actors, you chose the location, you chose the way it was lit, using the natural light as opposed to lighting it. You placed the cameras, you got everyone out of the room, you didn't tell her what was going to happen. You cast a real detective. You chose to put these upsetting photographs that you were going to surprise her with. I mean, there's a range of directorial choices here that are guiding this. What you're searching for is this directness and simplicity, but you have to really make these choices to set the stage to make that work. Another director might put the 2 wrong people in the wrong room, put the camera in the wrong place, tell them too much. So it's really quite artfully done.
The key is to never have to say to Debbie, I need you to get upset. You never want to say that, or you're going to ruin it. You
Now,
know?
at the start of the scene, is she lying or is she in denial?
Oh, I think she's in. My
what did
attitude
you
is
tell
she's
her?
in denial.
But you didn't say anything about that.
No, other than, but I think Debbie knew. It was interesting. Debbie knew enough about what she was doing to know that Martha does not believe that she did this. Just absolutely doesn't believe it.
Or doesn't recall it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't. I just.
The scene's astounding. It's
Well,
really
she's
superb.
I just like watching the two of them.
But I
this
mean, you
is-
can't do this better. You can't make this more plausible, believable, riveting.
Well, I think it comes down to,
Authentic.
again, whether or not you like the movie at all depends on whether or not you like. I like to stare at people. Like, I literally like to stare at people. I go to airports. If I'm in any public space, I stare at people. I'm fascinated by them, how they dress, how they move. I especially love watching couples or groups or families and looking at the sort of physicality and how people are interacting with each other. I find all that stuff really, really interesting. And a movie like Bubble is a reflection of that. And there are a lot of people who don't, that's boring to them, and that's cool. I get it. It's great for me, though, at least to have a venue to explore it, because I'm really interested in forms of communication that are not necessarily overt.
This film proves to me the value of research for when you're making a more traditional studio film. Because if you were to say to a production designer, okay, we need a visiting room set where there are these windows and booths, there's no way in a million years would a production designer design something so you couldn't see people's mouths. But it's so great. Nor would they probably have left the paint on the glass.
Right.
Maybe a truly great art director maybe would have done the research and discovered this odd setup and gone to the director and said, what if you can't see that? I just can't see that happening.
Right.
And it's fantastic. So if you did have to build this on a set and you're going to come up with a scene, if you could just possibly research
Right.
and find these odd things you could never think of.
No, you're right. It's certainly.
Or just shoot it on location, obviously, but
Right.
let's say you can't.
No, it's really true. It's something that's so counterintuitive, and yet for the scene,
It just makes
It's
it
what you
interesting
want,
and
yeah.
unusual, and it's not really relevant to see their mouths. There's something that intensifies how much information is conveyed in their eyes. It's just fantastic.
and again, this is, I think, the benefit of in this specific instance of sort of shooting in order. Debbie's tone there and feeling. We shot that almost immediately after shooting the interrogation, so she was still in that headspace.
The same day or the next day?
Yeah, the same day.
The same day.
Yeah.
Oh, it was in the same building?
Yep.
Yeah. Now, when you say you shot in continuity, how extreme did you get? Like, did you go into someone's bedroom, shoot a scene, and then leave? Or did you shoot several scenes in the bedroom?
We would, if they were, it depended on, again, you're into, is it day, is it night? When it felt like it wouldn't be too much of a problem to knock off a couple of different scenes in the same location.
If it wasn't emotionally intense.
Yeah, exactly.
Or,
If I felt like they weren't having to really leap from A to F, then I'd say, yeah, let's do it. So you tried to find this balance between actor-friendly and production-friendly.
You're describing an experience that just seems kind of euphorically great. Were there the making of the film? Were there any big problems? Did you hit any brick walls with anything, or have a bad day, or did something go wrong ever? Or?
God, not that I remember. So it must not have been anything significant. It was really, for me, absolutely one of the best experiences I've had making a movie. I had a lot of fun. What was great about it is you go, well, I don't know what's going to happen today. I'm sure it's going to be something.